First of all, thank you so much for inviting us. We're relatively new to the community solar space, so it's really exciting to be here and talking to all you guys. It's always hard to go last on these panels because most of the brilliant stuff has already been said. So I'm going to go a little bit off my presentation so I can establish some of the things that I think differentiate us and some of the lessons we've learned over the past 8 or so years we've been in existence in terms of working effectively with communities around a whole range of energy issues, but particularly to our work in community solar. So first of all, just our tagline is we organize community power. We do this in a couple different ways. Historically, we've worked in energy efficiency, basically doing all sorts of aggregation, customer acquisition, bringing down costs, and running multi-party RFPs to really drive down costs for people. We've always been highly engaged in retail choice. We used to push that out very heavily in both residential contexts by aggregating customers and also in commercial. In most of the markets we work in, which are primarily the Mid-Atlantic, but we're also expanding into the Northeast and the South to serve our customers, really pushing that into commercial and making sure that people can get access to lower cost energy. And finally, we've recently moved into community solar because of all the reasons we've discussed here. Huge cost savings, really strong opportunities for low and moderate income communities to be able to access power and basically get away from the fact that 49% of people in the United States will probably never be able to put solar on their roofs according to the National Renewable Energy Lab. So just to step back a little bit, and this has been said so many times, but community organizing is so key to these projects, and so we really look at that as our strength, and we also serve as a project sponsor. So right now we've got 3 projects in our pipeline, all in the Maryland region, which is also coming online, much like New York, in terms of figuring out how they're going to position themselves. Hopefully they'll get full retail rate, but moving those issues forward. All of our projects are really in the 500 kilowatt range. We feel like that's the minimum financeable size for a project. We're moving those forward right now, and what we found, and this has also been set up here quite often, is working with faith organizations is a really key way to move these projects forward. First of all, there's huge recognition in those communities of service, and actually we found most of them have large amounts of property. There's strong advocates in their community for permitting, for getting things cleared away in terms of working on co-location issues and all those kind of things. And really, we see it as a way to decrease customer acquisition costs over the long term as well, because as we come in and work with these organizations, they already have a built-in base where there's trust, where they're a broker in the community in terms of knowing exactly who matters. And we've also seen that it's helping fight NIMBYism, which is always a problem with a lot of these projects, especially in suburban or some of the more urban areas where there's huge concerns about aesthetics, about taking away land that's used for dog walking, or all sorts of other issues in the city. So we've seen that as being incredibly helpful. But one thing I want to touch on, which has not been talked about much here, really all of our projects were focused on doing 100% low and moderate income. There's a lot of talk about FICO score reduction and all those issues in terms of bringing it up. We think that just by having a diverse subscriber base, we've brought in a financial partner called Sustainable Capital Advisors to help us structure these products so we can do purchasing agreements. For low-income communities, it's very difficult to get people to come up with an upfront purchase of an actual panel. But one thing that we've really been focusing on working in these communities is it's one thing to get top-level stakeholder leadership convinced on an issue. Getting rank and file in terms of understanding baseline solar is still very difficult in a lot of the markets we're working in. It's been mentioned here earlier, Chris talked about it in the beginning. A lot of these communities have really been burned by unscrupulous business practices around efficiency, retail choice, a lot of those areas where primarily people who did not have a high level of energy literacy were really challenged and taken advantage of. So as we go into these communities, we're actually leading with financial literacy and tying that into existing programs, tying that into LIHEAP programs to really get people engaged and understand exactly what the drivers of their energy bills are and really building into a sense of community empowerment. And that actually ties to something we've learned working with low and moderate income communities over the past number of years, particularly that a lot of people here care about greenhouse gas emissions. I care about greenhouse gas emissions. When going into these communities, what we find the most effective sales pitch are really around local economic development opportunities, around community benefits. Jobs are huge, especially for getting a lot of people motivated. And of course, we all know that solar has very high job intensity per megawatt installed. So we see huge opportunities for that. And we really have found that that ties up into getting a project done when you can really have families focus on how much they're spending. You realize in Baltimore, we're working right now, over 25% of people living in poverty spend over $250 a month on electricity. These are huge costs that need to be bared. So we see equitable community solar as a way to really get communities motivated, to really help actually drive savings for individuals. But more importantly than all that, just really the empowerment and having community ownership of something that for a long time has been imposed, particularly on low and moderate income communities, communities of color, going in and meeting them where they are and really focusing on the benefits directly to them, and not easy environmental benefits, which are great, and in a way get kind of moved away when you get to the rec market. But fundamentally, the ownership, having it in the community, having a real asset, having jobs and cost savings for individuals and families is incredibly important. We've seen that as really the hook to get us into these situations where we can actually drive down a lot of the soft costs around site acquisition, leases, all of those issues. So we really do see that as a key pathway to moving this forward. And we're excited to see where we can push this model out otherwise. Right now, as I said, we're active in Maryland and DC with community solar projects. But we'd love to see if there are opportunities, particularly to work in a really organizing capacity to lead communities where they want to go and deliver the benefits that they need for their members. Thank you.